Slept on Cinema is sponsored by Training Ties, the ultimate shoe tying tool. If you know someone who's struggling with shoe tying for any reason, Training Ties is the perfect solution.
This one's a real disappointment.
It takes a machine gun approach to humor without looking at where it's aiming.
You won't laugh hard at Spy Hard, and that's not because the jokes aren't funny. Most of them aren't even jokes.
More of a parody than a parody.
A dreadfully unfunny comedy.
Nielsen, with his expert deadpan and sense of comic timing, creates the illusion of humor for about 15 minutes.
Welcome to this week's episode of Slept on Cinema. I'm your host, Stan Steamer.
And I'm Grove Street.
And this week we're getting into the 1996 spoof classic, Spy Hard.
We don't get a chance to do too many comedies, so this will be fun.
It's true. It's tough. I feel like a lot of comedy is often very specific to an era, as is this one. And some age better than others. And to be funny, you often have to be sort of very relevant. And that can be tough to do for a comedy to have staying power. This one has a mix. It has some things that I think have real staying power and some things that probably should stay back in the 90s. But that's the beauty of these kind of films.
Yeah, absolutely.
As always, all the movies, just like this one that we do on our podcast, are at or below 50% on Rotten Tomatoes for both critics and audiences. And we structure the podcast so that the first half is spoiler-free, talk about some things to look for in the film, take a break, go watch the film, come back, and talk about some things that we just went through. And this week, we also have a special guest joining us in our second half. So that's something to look forward to.
Get into the rotten premise.
Let's do it.
The evil General Rancor has his sights set on world domination, and only one man can stop him, Dick Steele, also known as Agent WD-40. Rancor needs to obtain a computer circuit for the missile that he is planning to fire, so Steele teams up with Veronique Ukrinsky, a KGB agent whose father designed the chip. Together, they try to locate the evil mastermind's headquarters, where Veronique's father and several other hostages are being held. Critics, sub 10%, down at 7%, and audience, 31%. Definitely more of an audience movie than for critics, for sure.
Yes. I mean, if this had a high critic score on it, it would be doing something wrong, I think. This is the type of movie that is intentionally not made for critics.
Yeah, this should offend the critics for even having to watch it.
Yeah, it should offend most people. It's a point of a spoof, right? Like, you almost want to be offended by having to watch this. So we can get into a little bit of background here. I think there's not a whole lot to get into, but it opened number 3 its opening weekend, May 24th, 1996. Took in $10.5 million that first weekend, behind Mission Impossible and Twister. So again, that's like almost like coming in first. Those are two just all-time classics.
That's basically first. Yep.
And ended up making $27 million worldwide on an $18 million production budget. And as we've been over before in our book, that's a win. That's a huge one. Yeah. And some interesting background on how this film got made. So the director, Rick Friedberg, was working with Leslie Nielsen on a short film, Bad Golf Made Easier. It was a spoof video of a golf training video. So one of these training videos you might see on an infomercial, improve your swing in 30 days or something like that. He made this video, but it was just about a guy who was absolutely terrible at golf. Leslie Nielsen was a big golfer, so that sort of fit in there. So the director working on this film with Leslie Nielsen, and his son had just written a spoof script. He shows the script to Nielsen. Nielsen loves it and agrees to do it. So this is a script. It was Rick Friedberg's son, Jason Friedberg, and his writing partner, Aaron Seltzer. They'd never made a movie before. They'd never done anything like this. And Leslie Nielsen says, "Yeah, this is funny. Let's do it. Let's go." So they made this film right because of that. And Jason Friedberg and Aaron Seltzer would go on to have a massive parody career. So this was the first of a huge run for them. They did Spy Hard was their first film, Scary Movie, Date Movie, Epic Movie, Meet the Spartans, Disaster Movie, and Vampires Suck, just to name a few. They had more than that. And I mean, they were the kings of the spoof comedy for a really long time, and it all started here.
If you're going to name spoof movies, that's pretty much the ones you name. So they're behind pretty much all the spoof movies from that era.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. And the fact that Leslie Nielsen just took a chance on them this one time after reading a spec script that from some guys that had never done a movie before, and just having the courage to just dive into that is awesome.
And it's funny seeing, because this was already a good movie, but I'm sure they learned a lot of lessons from their first spoof movie, and also working with a pro like Leslie Nielsen too. I'm sure helped a lot.
Yeah, and Leslie Nielsen, I'm sure our listeners are familiar with him. He's had a massive career. I think what I didn't realize was how much of a career he had before he took the turn into comedy, because I think that's, at least our generation, that's sort of all we know him from. But he had done over 150 live TV events before going out to Hollywood, and then was a very successful Hollywood actor. And he was a serious dramatic actor for almost the entirety of his career.
He wasn't always with Frank Drebin?
No. And to the point that when they cast him in Airplane in 1980, it was very much a casting against type, and people were convinced that it was a horrible mistake, that this couldn't possibly go well. This was a serious dramatic actor, and this was a horrible decision. And obviously, history would tell, but that's, he ended up being one of the greatest comedic actors of all time. So that's just, I think that just goes to show the kind of range and the kind of actor that Leslie Nielsen really is.
I feel like I have to go back and watch some of his serious acting movies, because I mean, Airplane was what, 1980?
1980, yeah.
We had 40
decades before that.
Oh, wow. But also decades starting then of being one of the funniest guys in Hollywood.
Mm-hmm. And also, just to throw this in there, a big prankster, and apparently would often travel around with his portable fart machine and just make fake fart sounds and see people's reactions at all times. And if you haven't checked it out, there are some great clips of him going on, daytime talk shows or late night shows with his fart machine and just letting it rip on unsuspecting hosts. There's some really great clips on YouTube, so I definitely recommend checking those out. He did pass away a few years ago, but in true prankster style, his epitaph is "Let her rip," in reference to his love of the fart machine. So
that sounds like a good prankster. It's an annoying prankster that like gets people wet and like hurts them, but a prankster that just has a fart machine, not so bad.
Exactly.
All right, do you want to get to Bolo?
Let's do it. I feel like we've had a bunch of these movies recently where there were just so many things to look for. This takes the cake. I cannot imagine a more Bolo-able movie, period.
The whole movie is a Bolo. You can't look away from every 5 seconds is a joke.
Yes. It was. I feel like most of my bolos come from the first half of the film, just because my hand cramped up from taking so many notes.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. So we have a lot from the first half of the movie. Bolo interacting with the credits, always fun.
I love that. Absolutely love that. I'm going to go Bolo spit. So just a massive amount, just I think once, but a very large, voluminous amount of spit.
I had written down a spitting image. So, Bolo, a fluffy silencer.
I'll go Bolo, a mime.
Bolo, a mime, not talking.
And this, I think it's our third movie in a row. It's either third in a row or 3 out of 4, which is kind of shocking. But we had the one earring again. No! Bolo, the one earring.
I think we're 3 in a row right now with the one earring.
Yeah, wild.
Bolo, the actor that voices Rafiki in Lion King.
It's a great pull. I'm going to go Bolo, the word pickle. See if you can keep an eye out for it.
Bolo working the VCR.
Yes. And I will just go right off of that. Bolo, the Blockbuster logo. Just
great Blockbuster.
Fantastic every time you see that.
Bolo, a Boston accent?
Good question mark on that one, because that's definitely what it's supposed to be.
As much as this is a spy movie, that's a Boston accent.
Yes, exactly. Well put. I will say Bolo, a sliding door.
Bolo, something I used to be problematic with, but I've since gone to a money clip Bolo, a heavy wallet.
Yeah, it's huge. Goes back 2 movies, but Bolo, a lawnmower.
Oh, good pull. Bolo, a Murphy bed.
There's a great ad on TV right now. I forget what it's for, maybe an insurance company or something, but it has a Murphy bathtub. I don't know if you've seen that, but not related to this film, but also just Bolo, that commercial for the Murphy bathtub. It's hilarious.
I'm going to check that out right when we're done. Is that like just a 90s thing? Do people have Murphy beds anymore?
I heard they were coming back.
Oh, all right. Every time they used to show like a dingy New York apartment, they would have a Murphy bed in there.
I love the idea of a Murphy bed because I, especially if you have a guest room or something, sleeping on an air mattress sucks, but taking up a whole room with a bed that almost never gets used doesn't make any sense either. Murphy bed is pretty brilliant.
Murphy bed should be in all guest rooms.
Yeah. You know what? I feel like I'm going to go get a Murphy bed after this. I'm going to say Bolo, the 7 Dwarfs.
Yep. Bolo, long legs.
I'll follow this with rubbery body parts multiple times.
Bolo, cauliflower.
Just say Bolo, biceps.
Definitely Bolo.
Hard to miss, really.
Bolo, the guy who plays the Toxic Avenger. The Toxic Avenger. They don't make a thing of it, but he's just there for me. I had to pause it. He's in the movie for maybe 1.5 seconds. Bolo, the guy who plays the Toxic Avenger.
Wow, I'm going to have to go back and look for that. I missed that one.
He may be in a vehicle with other people.
I'm going to say Bolo, a golf cart.
Bolo, problematic karate faces.
Yep. The 90s. This is going to be my last one. I don't know if you have more, you can run through them, but Bolo, bubble wrap.
Yeah, I am going to go really quick through these other ones. Bolo, movie references. Bolo, high-risk dentistry. Bolo, an extreme close-up. And Bolo, Mr. Pushy.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it, that this movie is just nonstop things to look for, especially movie references and things like that. I'm sure a lot of our listeners are familiar with a lot of the films that are being referenced, and it's just a fun film to watch and catch those references as they come nonstop. And a pretty wide range, too. It's not just spy movies or action movies. This is a pretty wide array of films that they rip on here.
I feel like this movie's good if you're, good for everyone, but if you're like 35 plus, you'll get most of the references from the 90s. But if you're younger, you'll just enjoy the other jokes. You don't need to get
you don't have to be old like us.
Yes, correct. Birthday today. Getting old.
It happens.
Yeah. What drink would you pair with this movie?
So this is a pretty wide range here for me, and it's very performative, but I'm just going to say, really, any drink of your choice, as long as you're drinking it through one of those curly straws.
Oh my God, we're running the same wavelength.
And because once you watch this film, you will know what I mean by one of those curly straws, but since you haven't seen the film yet, I mean these straws that I don't even know if they make these anymore, but when I was a child, these were a huge thing. They're the curly straws that are really curly, where you're drinking something and it takes a while to get the drink up to your mouth because it has to travel so far through the straw.
And you can watch it when you're pulling it up as a kid, go through the different curls. I typically would use it for chocolate milk back in the day.
Naturally.
Yeah. Good for bubbles.
Yeah, well. It's good for everything. I remember once I had some that it sort of had glasses built in, and it would go around your eyes and then back into your mouth. These things are exceptional. So whatever you're drinking, just make sure you're using one of those straws. That'll put you right in the mood.
I literally had written down, and I changed it to something else, a martini with a curly straw.
Oh, yeah.
Just have it that way. But I ended up, and this will make a little more sense, I guess. Don't use your best whiskey or bourbon, but have a Manhattan shaken, not stirred.
Yep.
Because it doesn't make any sense, but I was fun with this movie.
Yeah, that's a great pick. So really,
but done wrong.
Yes.
Serve it up too with a long stem, but definitely shake it a bunch before you pour it in. All right, this is going to be awesome. Excited for everyone to see this, and we'll see you on the other side.
Yeah, enjoy.
Enjoy.
Move over, James. Leslie Nielsen is...
Let me guess. You are Dick Steele.
Agent WD-40.
He's on a mission so secret,
That's a very powerful flamethrower.
even he doesn't know what he's doing. He'll have to step into the line of fire
Back in the car!
in the year's biggest cliffhanger to rid the world of Andy Griffith.
I'm back, big as life and twice as ugly.
Hollywood Pictures presents the mother of all secret agents in a movie with all the action, all the women, and half the intelligence.
I have decided I love you.
But what about my father?
I like him. I just have to get to know him better.
Spy hard. He's got a license to spill.
Slept On Cinema is brought to you by Training Ties, the ultimate shoe tying tool. If you know anyone who's struggling with shoe tying, Training Ties is the perfect solution. Or if you know anyone who just doesn't like tying their shoes, Training Ties keeps shoes tied all day long. Say no to Velcro and yes to independence with Training Ties.
Welcome back. That movie was, I'm going to say it's unlike anything else that you're going to be able to see at the video store if that still existed. This is a one of one. They don't make movies like this anymore.
They absolutely do not. We all joined, like we said, we're going to be by our guest today, Gus Tate, who is a comedian and has a special out now that is awesome that I keep sending clips to all my buddies about called Gus Tate on YouTube, right? Is that where?
Yeah, it's called Top Gus. I'm called Gus Tate.
Yeah, I'm an idiot.
That's what people call it. No, it's okay. You'll find it either way. But yeah, thanks for having me.
It is one of our favorite things to have guests on this show because I think oftentimes they do. Grobe and I watch a lot of movies, but there is still a lot to get past us, and it's always fun to get someone else's insight into a movie that they have a particular attachment to that for whatever reason the rest of the world just hasn't gotten into.
Yeah.
This is one of those.
Yeah, I can certainly forgive someone for not getting into this movie. It's whatever you're going to say about it, whatever the critics said about this on Rotten Tomatoes. They're probably right. I won't.
Yeah, it's all true.
I won't say this is like one of the greats, even of Leslie Nielsen. Like there are better Leslie Nielsen movies, but there are some moments in this that are definitely worth holding up.
100%. We talk about that all the time. That we don't get the fortune of reviewing masterpieces every single episode, but we do always watch movies and talk about movies that have exceptional, one-of-a-kind parts that if you just throw the movie in the trash, you're going to miss out on real art all over the place. And that's this definitely has a ton of those gems buried in it.
Oh yeah.
So we usually start when we come back from break with our draft, and as our guest, you get the first pick in the movie for your favorite part or anything about this movie.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I got to start with the whole reason that I thought of this movie in the first place. The thing that I remember about this movie is it's like 20 minutes into it. So you know how he, spoiler alert, his partner dies by falling off a cliff at the beginning of the movie. And then later he's like, he realizes that her daughter is now in trouble. And he's like in his house looking at a picture of this woman that died and remembering her. And he looks at the photo, and it's a photo of her falling off the cliff. Like he's got that photo framed of her going like, that to me is so funny. I mean, for obvious reasons, but I feel like it's like funny on this like other level where it's like, that's how we remember, like, when you think of somebody that, either has died or you haven't seen in a while, like you remember the last time that you saw them. So to think of like somebody dying like a violent death and you've got a framed photo of it. That's so funny. And the fact that it's just like a throwaway, as all the jokes in this movie are, is that much funnier.
Yeah, I mean, it's a movie that's so jam-packed with nonstop jokes, bits, skits, everything, that they slip these little things in like that. And you're absolutely right. Like that's such a good pick, because that's like a hilarious little nugget that someone just slipped in there.
Yep.
It's funny. It's kind of like poignant in a strange way.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
like
exactly.
there's a lot there that's just in this, tucked in this goofy spoof movie.
Yeah. I also realized while watching this, not necessarily at that part, but like people like complain about movies now having too many jokes. Like Marvel movies, they've always got to slip a little snide remark in there, but like there's something really nice about like a movie that just like shoots the moon on it. That's like, we're going to put as many jokes as possible. There's like something pure about that I mean, all of Leslie Nielsen's movies are like that, but yeah, perfect example.
I thought Robin Williams was like that too. I feel like it was just like we had a review that said it was like a machine gun approach to humor, where it lands. And part of that's fun because like I was in my head, I was like timing, like, all right, that was a joke. Let's see how long to the next one. You can't get past like 5 seconds. Every 5 seconds, there's something you could laugh at. And the pictures in this, that one was amazing. But there's also some amazing pictures in this movie. In they have a picture of Dick Steele with like Muhammad Ali, Michael Jackson, JFK, Jackson 5, Elvis. He's always the same age as he currently is. It's not like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Picture him as he is and put him back with Jackson 5.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. That is funny. Same scene too.
Yeah, it's layered upon layered upon layered, and I was thinking about maybe taking this as one of my picks later on, but we'll get to it now. I think that's one of the things that makes this movie so great is, as you said, it sort of shoots for the moon. They hold nothing back. And one of the reviews talked about it being almost a spoof of a spoof, because it's just that extreme. Like you have to just love the audacity to just go at an idea so hard that this is clearly one of these things. Whenever anyone had an idea of any kind, nothing was said no to. Every single thing went in and just made it unbelievably fun. I mean, this movie must have been so fun to work on because of that.
Yeah. Yeah, you can picture him in the writer's room like, ooh, and then what if he farts there? And they're like, yeah, throw it in.
Sure, whatever. Literally, make any suggestion, we'll put it in.
Yeah.
All right, good first pick.
All right, my first pick, and I may have taken sort of the going all out aspect of it as my first pick, but we've already been over that. So I'm going to take the opening song and the Weird Al credit scene. Yeah. I mean, it's brilliant. It's pure brilliance. Everything about it. The song is amazing. The way it really sounds and looks and has the feel of a James Bond intro, but it's just ties it in. And I talk about this a lot on here, how I love movies that really get you off on the right foot. And that song, exactly what you're in for the rest of the film. And it's like we just talked about, every last detail. I had the women swimming in the background that are all silhouette, and it's like even they have little like fart bubbles coming up throughout the song. It's just like no detail is left untouched. And I love Weird Al's head exploding at the end. I love that it is Weird Al, and you see him singing that. It's just it's
at
one
the time it was perfect. 1996. That is like Weird Al Centrals. It is the perfect person to be in there.
Yeah, it puts it just in its right time. It nailed it in a way that few things nail things. I mean, it was just perfectly executed. It was 10 out of 10.
Yeah, agree. I also realized what you said. This came out in 96.
Yeah,
96. Yep.
Yeah, Austin Powers was 97.
Yeah, you wonder, does Austin Powers happen if this movie didn't happen first?
I think the obvious, it's clearly no. This would never happen.
Yeah,
of course.
They must have been working on it already. But it wouldn't surprise me if it was just parallel thinking that they both do a spy movie. I mean, the time was right. But still, it's funny that one got famous and this one kind of got buried. It's probably why it got buried.
Yeah, I mean, I think Austin Powers definitely sort of stole its lunch on that point, because if you're at the movie store and the two of them are next to each other, you're probably picking Austin Powers, and then maybe you're going to another aisle next time you're there. So it's tough to get hit by an all-time classic only a year later, right in the same genre. So that's, I guess good for us, because otherwise we wouldn't have been able to talk about it on this podcast.
That's true.
Two good picks. You stole that. That was going to be my pick. But I think I'm just going to go with the obvious choice, which I like doing lately, and I'm going to take Leslie Nielsen.
Oh,
This movie, like, could this movie have been made with anybody else? I don't think so. I think,
No.
and he just does deadpan better than anyone. It's just, I don't know. I'll watch him do essentially Frank Drebin in every movie all the time, and it's always hilarious to me.
Yeah, he's incredible.
It's one of those things that I don't understand why he's not talked about more in sort of the all-time greatest comedians and all-time greatest actors. Like, I think he is one of the all-time greatest actors, and for whatever reason, probably because he did so many of these type of movies towards the end of his career, he just doesn't get the credit that he should. I mean, he is a brilliant actor.
Yeah,
I don't think
really is.
Gus probably has no idea about this, but I don't think comedians get enough credit for being like great actors.
Oh
You know
no,
what I mean?
I hear people talk about like Jim Carrey doing serious stuff. You mean when they do serious stuff?
No, even like comedy, like to do comedy well is hard. And I think it's like, oh, it's just funny, so we can write it off as like whatever. But it's not easy to be funny. And for Frank Drebin for Leslie Nielsen to have the same bit always be funny, it's like a testament to him.
Well, yeah, I think there's always something funny about, I guess you could call it deadpan. I just call it like playing it absolutely straight, like being so serious. Like there's no hint of irony in anything that Leslie Nielsen says. It's played completely straight. I mean, that's, if anything, the one thing that's not so great about this movie is he sometimes does like make some goofy faces and you're like, oh, okay. You know that you're in a movie. But the best parts of Leslie Nielsen are when he's, like the doctor in Airplane, just like, the Pentagon, it's a building with 5 sides or any of those things. They're just, I think that's why The Onion is so funny. I don't know if you guys like The Onion.
Oh yeah.
They play it so it looks like a newspaper, which is the most serious thing that there is. And that when they read anyway, I just think that's like, if there's a key to comedy, it's like playing it straight, even though you're saying something ridiculous. Like pretending to be perfectly serious about this thing that's obviously ridiculous. That will always be funny.
It accentuates the ridiculousness of it, which is kind of perverse that you'd think it, like, how could that possibly be? But that's at least when done correctly, as Leslie Nielsen does, that's exactly what it does.
Yeah. It's also really funny how old he is. Like, he's supposed to be like a sex symbol or whatever, and you just see these close-up shots of his back, like his moly, hairy back.
And they know it's funny too, and they just pair him with a supermodel who's like 20 years old. And he's there at 80.
Yeah,
like, oh, I'll save you, sugar.
Yeah, I love it. That's a good one.
This probably could have waited till sleep around, but I'm gonna go with eye block poking hubris. I feel like in movies, whenever somebody goes, like they block that one, they're always overly celebratory. You know what I mean? It never ends. There's always another attack, and that happened in this one too, where he blocks it and he gets like all excited, and then of course he gets poked in the eye afterwards. It happened in Army of Darkness, and pretty much any movie. It's Three Stooges. Anytime you try to poke someone's eyes, block it, it's over.
Yeah,
it never is.
Yeah, you're right. You're most vulnerable after that, I guess.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, it is a good one. I don't think I've ever had the opportunity to actually make that move. I think that's probably one of those things you wait your whole life to successfully deploy the getting poked in the eye deflection, and then you finally had your moment. I'm sure I would have the same reaction, and then to my own demise.
Yeah, you got to see that coming pretty far ahead to deploy one of those.
Yeah, I mean, your timing has to be perfect, so you can forgive some strutting after the fact.
Yeah.
There's another situation where I feel like I actually had so many things that I could have drafted, but so many of them are sort of the sleeper variety. Because that's the type of movie this was, that there are so many of these little nuggets throughout that are just...
You're probably not going to pick the story.
Right. But I'm going to take, and this is probably just a bit of nostalgia, but the sort of when they're popping the VHS into the VCR at the government headquarters, all the sort of VHS requirements, and now everyone is an expert on using the VCR. It's like, oh, you got to put it on channel 3, no 4, and adjust the tracking. I love that little element of it, in part because it brings me back. It's obviously brings me back to that era. It brings me back to movies and experiencing movies, but also just it's like this instant thing where everyone's an expert in this kind of now completely obsolete, arcane technology, but that was the situation. And, you know, everyone knew how to adjust your TV, and you were always mad when someone couldn't figure it out. It was like a little slice of life right there.
Yeah, that was a good joke. I also didn't realize that Channel 3 and Channel 4 was like a universal thing. For some reason, I thought that was like a local Kentucky thing. And when they said that, I was like the Leo meme where he's like pointing at the TV. Yeah, Channel 3.
Channel 3 just had all the power back in the day. If you were on anything else, you're screwed.
It was weird when sometimes it was 4, because it was almost always 3. I don't know what was up.
Sometimes
4.
it was 4. Weird. Yeah, that was a good ref. All right. Well, I mean, again, this is pretty small, but I love the name Bud Fuddlacker when he says, when she's like, I don't know anything about you. My name's Bud Fuddlacker. And then he says, what, I travel with the Harlem Globetrotters. I have my own, I don't remember what he said, something business, but the name Bud Fuddlacker, I laughed for a long time when I heard that. And also because he's saying it to a beautiful woman. It's like trying to impress her, kind of.
Yeah, and it's all lies.
Yeah.
That's a great one. I do feel like if this movie came out 10 years later, if this came out in 2006, that would have been a very quotable, sort of memeable scene. Like, I feel like people didn't quote movies as much from this era, but I feel like that's one of those things that easily could have gotten picked up, and you would have heard people say that that's who they were and that was their backstory all over the place.
Yeah, Bud Fuddlacker should have been like a go-to fake name for everybody.
Oh yeah,
I mean, that's going to be my go-to fake name from now on for sure.
I'm changing my Instagram handle. But it reminded me of wait, did you guys read Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy? Or see the movie or whatever? There's a hilarious name in that. Oh, Slarta Bartfast. I think it's because it's it's like Fuddruckers. It like sounds almost like
it sounds dirty almost.
It sounds dirty, but it's not quite.
Right.
You feel like you're getting away with something when you say it.
Yeah, exactly.
The names of this movie I almost picked that, so that's great. There was Dick Steele.
Yep.
Yeah, Dick Steele is an amazing all-time main character name.
Mischievous Noggin was pretty great.
Oh, yeah.
And then
Noggin.
Barbara Doll was just meant to be Barbie Doll because I don't think she spoke. She's just
I couldn't believe they never said Barbie Doll.
Yeah.
Like, I was the entire time. And I'm sure that was sort of part of the gag. It was just like, I was waiting for it because this is one of these movies where they don't hold anything back. That's the one thing they held back. They just never quite connected those dots. And like, obviously it was everyone knows that, but I was waiting the edge of my seat for them to let that one rip.
Yeah, well, they had 36 hours to save her, and they just put her up on there. She's going to be tied up for 36 hours.
Yeah,
why not?
All right, I got to go with the very first joke that they do. I think it's the first joke where they're infiltrating something and they're staking it out, and then she looks at him and goes "My God, you're an incredible man." And she's actually looking at Fabio taking a picture of himself. That was really funny. Also, he's doing a selfie, like a 90s selfie. He's holding a camera towards himself like that, which is rare. I didn't realize people did that back then.
I feel like there's probably a history of selfies out there somewhere, and they really should have this movie in there, because I'm sure it wasn't the first, but this was probably early era selfie.
I think
it might have been Fabio's first, which makes it pretty important.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. He's an important man.
He was a guy that I feel like today no one has any idea who Fabio is. But in the 90s, he was just a guy that was referenced for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Jealous wife or whatever. He was, Fabio.
He was a real Dave Letterman top 10 list.
Yeah. In the front of all the romance novels, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Got hit by a bird on a roller coaster.
Yeah, the time he got hit, the roller coaster goose thing. That was
oh, right. It was a goose.
Major news.
I mean, what are the odds?
Yeah, and I feel like I never understood why he was what drove his fame other than his obviously impressive physique.
Yeah, he was the Kim Kardashian of his time, I guess.
Yeah,
the hair probably helped too.
Yeah,
I mean, the whole package.
right. One of the first, one name guys. We had Madonna. Not a lot of one name guys, right? It was
True.
just Fabio.
You got Prince,
Oh, Prince. Yeah, I forgot about Prince.
and I don't know, not much else after that.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess that one's mine.
That's a great thing. Yeah, I love that scene. Oh, I got so many choices. I'm debating what to go with, but I'm going to take the movie poster here. I don't know if you guys have seen the movie poster, but it's Leslie Nielsen standing on the cover in sort of the James Bond pose with the gun up to his, next to his face, and his pants are down, and the beautiful woman is right next to him, and it's. I just love these movie posters that tell you that make it incredibly obvious what you're going to see, but also sort of intrigue you and pull you in. And this is that. Like, I feel like if this movie, you're walking down the aisles in the video store and you see this, you definitely want to rent this, and you definitely know what you're getting yourself into.
Yeah, it's perfect.
It's just perfectly done.
I think that's how it happened. I was like going through the aisles in Blockbuster, and you see this, and you're like, oh, I know him, and this looks funny. He's holding a gun, his pants are down. Yeah, this is going to be great. And that's how it happened. The box cover used to just pull people in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like movie posters have fallen off. Now they're just like blue and orange. And they're just like everybody in the movie in a diagonal. Like
there's like a whole bunch of like floating faces. You're like, all right, well, I know who's in it, but that doesn't really.
Yeah, that's all they want. They want to show you who's in it. But again, they could have done that with Leslie Nielsen, and I would have been like, I'd watch it.
Yeah, I'm in.
Oh, wait, fun random, before I forget, do you know one of the actors in this movie went on to win an Oscar?
Oh.
Wait,
Can you guess which actor or actress in this movie went on to win an Academy Award sometime after this? It was not Leslie Nielsen.
It should have been.
I know.
The fact that he doesn't have one is in it.
Did they have a speaking line in this movie?
They did.
Pat Morita never won one, right?
No.
I don't know.
I have no idea.
It was Marcia Gay Harden who played Miss Chivas.
Oh, Miss Chivas.
Wow.
And she won for playing Jackson Pollock's wife in Pollock in 2000.
I saw an interview of her where she didn't like this movie.
Oh, interesting.
She's like, I don't get what my character was. Like, that was like the secretary. Was I sexy? Was I not? She's like, I don't even know if I came off as sexy, but I was supposed to.
Right. Well, she was Moneypenny, right?
Right.
Yeah. But yeah. Sorry to interrupt the.
That's a great tidbit. I saw that same clip from her saying that she wasn't all that into this, and which is surprising because I feel like this movie looked like a lot of fun. It looked like everyone had to be having an awesome time. So obviously, you can't please everyone, I guess.
Yeah, that character was not my favorite character. I mean, it was like obviously everyone's all over the place, but I didn't feel like I sort of agree. I think I know what she was saying there a little bit. Yeah. Like she was like goofy, sexy, but also trying to.
He was never into her.
Yeah,
right.
He was never, or was he?
There was some flirting. There was some flirting in the office.
Flirting, but yeah.
Yeah,
but
I guess I'll give Spy Hard a pass for being inconsistent.
Yeah, it did feel like there was a scene missing, perhaps. Like when she shows up in the lair at the end, you wanted a little bit more of like, well, how did she get here? What happened in between?
Yeah, I want a Miss Chivas prequel.
Yeah,
what's her backstory?
Yeah,
wow. That's a category of ours.
Yeah,
spin off. So yeah, Miss Chivas prequel.
Nice. Love it.
My turn.
All right, Grobe. Yeah, what you got? Bring us home.
Well, this is because I've seen this movie so many times lately. Everything is filtered through it. So I'm going to say I'll get to it. But people in movies showing they could have gotten out of a cage at any time. That happens in this. Like,
I love that.
You know what I mean? That little bit.
Yes.
It's like, hey, what's going on? Who are you trying to break out? And they could have stepped out. So I liken this to my son keeps watching Winnie the Pooh all the time. And there's a part going after the Baxton. And then they're all down in the hole. And then like Owl flies up to give a big speech to Piglet. And then he comes back down. Everyone's like, oh my God, what did you do? He's like, oh, you did such a great job talking to Piglet and giving that uplifting speech. But no one was like, hey man, you flew out of this hole. Get us out of here. Instead he flew back down and was waiting for Piglet to get them all out. So that little thing in movies where they're always like, I could have just, what are you working on here? Oh, I've already unlocked it.
Yeah. I love that. I have to mention the best example of that ever is Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
I was just going to say the same thing. Absolutely.
So funny. And also the, you mean to tell me you could have gotten out at any time? No, only when it was funny. So good.
Yeah.
I like to think that he actually was bound by that law in the movie. It's canon that he literally could not have gotten out.
I think he was bound by that. That's the Toon Code. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
That's one of those movies too. I mean, it obviously doesn't qualify for our podcast, but it's kind of a forgotten film. I think it's owned by Disney, but doesn't really fit into the Disney their marketing and branding at this time. So I feel like it's just kind of been backburnered, which is terrible because I grew up watching that movie a lot.
Maybe someone in it did something wrong. I remember you look at them. I try to find some movies and you can't find them anywhere, but you realize it's connected to a Harvey Weinstein produced movie, and you're like, well, I guess that can't be found anywhere because no one wants to carry that anymore.
Yeah,
but you're right. I can't find Who Framed Roger Rabbit is just completely forgotten.
And that's an all time. I mean that's a top 5 movie for me.
I agree.
Yeah,
that's like the original Pixar sort of where adults can watch it, can watch it, and they both get what they need out of it.
Mm-hmm. It is on Disney Plus. Sorry, I just looked it up.
Oh, fantastic!
There you go.
It's on for my son tomorrow.
Yeah.
I got a few honorable mentions. We got Dick Steele. The names were amazing. I love the fact that his code name was WD-40 because it just made me think of this is one of these things of why do we all know about WD-40? It's one of these things that literally every person knows about, but why? It made me just go down this rabbit hole of why is that the universal can that people have in their basement? It's bizarre.
Yeah. That feels like a joke that somebody thought of, the head writer thought of, and people were like, I don't really know if that, I feel like we can do better. And he was like, no, we're going with WD-40. It's funny.
Right.
It is funny though.
What else did I have? I liked the ear buttons that the government agent had when he's like, we got rid of phones. It's just the ear button. Because I feel like that's now a thing. That's real. Yeah. They have that.
That's Rafiki.
Oh yeah. I looked that up. Crazy.
So ahead of their time there. Also love just anytime there's a code word conversation thing where you have to talk to somebody to tell if you're the right person. I eat that up. That should be a thing in every single movie.
Right. The postman only knocks twice or whatever. Right. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, that was good.
What else we got?
Ray Charles driving the bus.
Oh, amazing. We are going to have one of our further categories. We can just do this. We could do this now. We can do our superlative this week is favorite cameo. So many good choices.
Yeah.
And I feel like this film is just, it goes to show you the reach of Leslie Nielsen that he got all these people to join in the fun of making this film. And he has some serious heavy hitters, and they're hilarious. And they're also very much of an era, which I always appreciate for watching a film like this. It puts me in a very particular time, and I think every single one of the people in this does that perfectly.
Yeah.
So we got Ray Charles. What do you got?
Joyce Brothers, Dr. Joyce Brothers.
Oh, Joyce Brothers was awesome. That was the tag team match, right?
Yeah, the tag team. I had to look it up. I was like, who's that again?
I had to look that up too. I was like, I know she's an advice person, but I had to look it up as well.
It was also because she came in after Hulk Hogan, who couldn't handle the match.
Right.
Yeah.
He came in and tore him down.
Yeah, that was good.
I think my favorite cameo is the one right off the bat when you start the film in Mr. T. I love Mr. T. Yeah. I recently watched Rocky 3 again. That's my favorite Rocky movie. And I also just love it, just like the sort of the movie poster and the Weird Al song. You see Mr. T in this movie right in the beginning, and it again, you know exactly what you're into for the rest of the film. It sets the stage perfectly. So he was there was obviously they're all fantastic, but I think he was my favorite.
Yeah, it was good. Was there anybody else?
So I liked Alex Trebek was the agency tape recorder. His voice. I'm not taking him. I liked Pat Morita, Mr. Miyagi. At that time, Karate Kid, everyone thought that Pat Morita was straight from Japan, and he wasn't an American actor who didn't do any of that sort of voice. And so when he came in and started, acting flamboyant or whatever, I think it was a big shock to the crowd in the 90s. Wait a second, Mr. Miyagi talks like that?
Yeah, that was good. I was like, That was one of those where I was like, am I being racist that I think that's Pat Morita right now? But then I was proven right.
Yeah, we all were.
Yeah. I feel like, Roger Clinton, wasn't he in there? Like Bill Clinton's brother. He was one of the, I didn't recognize him. I looked this up later, but he was one of the agents. He was like Agent Clinton or something.
Oh, that's amazing. That's such a funny thing to like ride someone's coattails into. It's like, I'm Bill Clinton's brother, and I got into Spy Hard because of it.
Yeah, good get. I think that those were all
obviously Fabio. We talked about him earlier. That was an essential cameo.
Yeah, Rafiki.
Another honorable mention, getting off of the cameos, is I loved the Macaulay Culkin. When they try to set up all these traps, and he does, and then the burger's like, ouch, I guess, but we're gonna get you.
Yeah.
You're still a little kid. We can knock away these paint cans.
Yeah, that was like the like another version of, I think Family Guy made this joke where the robbers come and he tries to hit him with paint cans. They just pull out a gun and shoot him. That was good. My honorable mention would be when they're doing like the True Lies part, when the horse is like they're skidding off the roof and they're both falling, and Dick Steele is like, ah, and then they just cut to the horse going, whoa. It's not even like a horse noise. It's kind of like but it's just like it's like a person horse voice, like oh.
I also
that got me.
Similar part of the film right before that. The fact that when he's getting on to the elevator, another horse gets off first.
It's
just
funny.
thought that was hilarious too.
In movies, this happens all the time.
Yeah, right.
True Lies, by the way, is one of my favorite movies.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't get talked about a lot. People don't list it as people think about like Die Hard and Terminator. Nobody thinks of True Lies.
It's true.
The best jet scene of any movie, I think. When that
Harrier.
I feel like those jets had just either been invented or declassified or whatever. That was the first time people realized this technology exists. So that had the added excitement there. But I do feel like no one talks about it, but I can't imagine there's anybody who's flipping channels as if when flipping channels is kind of an obsolete thing. But if you see that is playing, you can't not watch that. For at least you're going to throw 15 minutes at it.
It's also my favorite Tom Arnold movie.
Yes, absolutely. He's so funny. And the movie itself is funny, and it's almost like True Lies. Sorry, I know we're not talking about True Lies, but True Lies is the parody and the movie itself. It's a really good action movie, and it's also like a sort of a parody. It almost kind of does what this movie does, where it's it does spy tropes, and plays on them a little bit.
He's in the urinal, you can see behind him, all that stuff.
Yeah, it's so good. Anyway, I've never seen it parodied in a movie, and I was like, oh, they're doing True Lies.
That was a fun part about this, though. If you watch a bunch of movies, that's what they did in this movie.
Yeah, right.
They just parodied other movies. So if you were a movie nerd, you're like, oh yeah, that's True Lies, or whatever else movie.
Yeah, I feel like they parodied a bunch of random '90s stuff that I had forgotten about. There's some weird scene with when the Q character is showing him all the gadgets, and he fires a laser and it hits Michael Jackson in the head or something, and he goes like
not again.
Did his hair catch on fire? Or something?
When that was what started, I guess, is sort of a lot of his pain issues. He was filming a Pepsi commercial. I think it was a Pepsi commercial, and there was some pyrotechnic element gone awry, and he was burned. And I
oh man, yeah, it happened so fast because we wasn't in the shot before. It was just a pew, pew and then hits Michael Jackson. Yeah,
that would have been an amazing get if they pulled the real Michael Jackson for that cameo.
Oh man. That would have been crazy.
The sound effects in this movie were awesome too. Whoever was working on everything had a later added sound effect to it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. The convent was called Our Lady of the Never Had the Pickle.
Oh my god! Yes. I had to pause that to read it. I guess they showed twice, but I was like, did that really say that?
Yeah.
Which goes into this was supposed to be a raunchy R-rated movie, but the studios kind of peeled it back a little bit and made it for PG-13 as opposed to R.
That would have been interesting to see the R version.
Yeah, absolutely. What would you, if you could make one change to make this a blockbuster? What would you do?
Oh my God. I don't know.
I can kick this one off, and I think, and this is tough because I do think that they, for what this movie is and what this movie intends to be, they pretty much nail it. So it's really tough to think of things that could change it. But I think to make it a blockbuster, I want more Leslie Nielsen. I mean, there's a lot going on in this, and they cut away, and there's a lot of other people, there's a lot of characters, there's a lot of different scenes. But like, I kind of just want more of those scenes where just Leslie is doing his thing, because his comedic timing, his like presence on screen is so good that I think if you just gave him a little bit more time to sort of feel things out and do his own thing, I think that could have made the movie more appealing to more people. And I don't think that was the intent. I don't think this movie is made to be a blockbuster. But I think if you're looking to make it a blockbuster, that is what I would do.
Yeah, agree. I would say there are some parts where it didn't need to be Leslie Nielsen in it, that could have just been any like silly movie. And I wish they had just like, I don't know, done more of his classic serious guy deadpan stuff. Like when he fights the nun with the pee, he like grabs some containers of pee and just like throws it on her. I mean,
no, don't do it right before.
Right. I mean, I'll laugh at anything where, pee gets thrown on somebody. But I feel like there were a lot of jokes where it's like, okay, if they had just maybe spent a little bit more time like tightening everything up and making it real, putting more Leslie in it, then it could have been right up there with Austin Powers. People would be calling themselves Bud Fuddlacker all over the place. It would be the most common TikTok username.
What was the fake name for Ferris Bueller?
No, Abe Froman.
Yeah, Abe Froman.
Oh, Sausage King of Chicago.
Yeah, that's what it is. Maybe the next Abe Froman.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe if it had come out in 1998 after Austin Powers.
I'd like to see what Gus just said, but the R-rated version. Let's just see what they had intended. And let's see how crazy it would get. I'm not sure that would make it a blockbuster. Usually the more R things go, it doesn't always translate that way, but didn't seem like this was very well received at PG-13, so maybe R would have won it.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
What else we got, Stan? Spin-off idea?
Spin-off ideas. This is our category. If you have any spin-off ideas, and I feel like we went into Miss Chivas's backstory. Give us the Miss Chivas origin.
No, not actually. Spin-off. Who was a funny other character? I feel like it was really just. Oh, I mean, Andy Griffith as the guy. I mean, that's a pretty good get.
We haven't even touched on that.
Yeah, we haven't even talked about that.
Because he had that whole period. I mean, when he reappears for the entirety of this film, he's been amassing this whole, his power again, building this lair and building all these plans up. We don't see any of that. I'd love to see that.
Yeah, it was really like it was very Dr. Evil. Like, I mean, I get they were basing it on the same people with the lair and everything.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I would definitely like to see like just a sequel with Dick Steele. You could honestly take away everybody else and just do another Leslie Nielsen spy movie, and I would just watch that.
Yeah, it could just be like the same thing with Dick Steele, just better.
Yeah. Oh, what about? I think somebody said it was like a parody of parody movies.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what if they actually tried to do that? Like,
oh yeah,
like a scary movie,
like that a lot.
But for parody movies.
Yeah, scary movie.
Yeah, right. Scary movie. Call it like funny movie or something. Or
maybe that's what it takes to get these back, because I feel like they don't make spoof movies anymore. Probably they were just done after a while, but maybe that's what it takes to get it back. A spoof of a spoof.
Yeah, I'd watch it. I mean, some of them are so old that they're considered like canon.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
I'd do it. I'd bankroll it.
Well, my spin-off idea just sounds dumb after we have this like really meta spoof on spoof concept. But I was just thinking that his sort of sidekick assistant agent, Cobble, he's always showing up in these crazy cars. I want to see a show about him and these cars. Just call it Cobble's Cars.
Cobble's
and every time it's a different car. I want to know where to get this car. What can the car do? Just give me some time with him in the cars.
Yeah, couples in cars getting coffee.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah. Nice. Cobble's garage. Yeah. Yeah, that's good. Man, I feel like there was one.
Drink only when I'm thirsty. I like that sort of humor.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, when they find her dad and he's like, is she safe? And he said, oh yes, the van they took her in has dual airbags. That was a legitimately good joke.
I like the cheese joke too.
All the cheese jokes were good. That little run of cheese jokes.
Wait, which one?
You're gonna look like Swiss cheese when they find you, and he goes, "Oh, that's no Gouda."
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
I like. They used to do this all the time when they would take off someone's clothes. Like, hey, what are you hiding in there? And he's like, I'm not hiding anything. And they take off his jacket, and like 50 guns, a cat, a balloon, and whatever else just falls out of his pockets. I don't think they do that thing anymore.
Yeah. They did a joke with Q, or what was his name? Nuggets or something? Noggin. Yeah. Nuggets. Where they're looking at gadgets, and then he says, what's this? And he's like, it's a briefcase. He put documents in it. And I'm pretty sure they did that with Austin Powers too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like, what's this? It's toothpaste? You brush with it?
Yeah, I think they definitely made liberal use of picking, cherry picking parts from this film when making that Movie, as they should. I mean, you could probably say that Austin Powers again was an homage to Spy Hard.
That's true.
Really.
Yeah. That's all. I think that was all. Oh, give me Washington, George. Decent.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like this movie comes out 10 years later. You're hearing these lines over and over and over again. It was just when this came out that, maybe I was too young for that, but I don't think that's the case. I think that people just interacted with movies differently when this came out, and that wasn't a thing.
Well, periodically Gen Z will like discover an old movie and it'll just be like all over TikTok for a while. I feel that could happen with this. Like,
easily.
Yeah. They'll be calling each other Bud Fuddlacker and talking about the vehicle.
It should have been like Anchorman, where everyone quoted it for too many times for a number of years, and it just came out, like you said, 10 years later.
Totally. Yeah. It could still happen.
Any day now.
It just has to go on Netflix and get that, like, everyone's watching this right now. And then
yeah. Don't start using TikTok, by the way. It's not.
I intentionally stopped using it.
Yeah, good.
Sprack.
Any other notes we didn't touch on? Things
going through. I think we got through most of it.
Oh, Jungle Calls for Guards right at the beginning.
That was
yes. Yeah.
And that guy, not the guy from Police Academy?
Oh, was it?
I don't think it was.
Yeah, maybe it wasn't. Yeah. Also, right before that was she goes in the intruder entrance.
The intruder entrance, like service entrance, intruder entrance.
Good guy.
I feel like every Leslie Nielsen movie has someone. Most people not paying attention, usually him while driving, and he's like, what's going on back there? And they always show like crashes and explosions, and that happened in this one too.
Yeah.
I also liked when in the flashback to the scene with the president where Dick Steele ties up the bumper, and you think that everything's going to be great, and then obviously the bumper rips off. I just felt that was so relatable. Like that's what would happen if I did that. I'd be like, oh, well, I don't know anything about like what is like legit on a car, and I would tie it up and think that this was great, and then the whole thing would rip off. It's like that's why I'm always terrified to use a car jack, because I'm like, I'm just going to jack this thing right through the bottom of my car, because I don't know where the thing is that holds the rest of the car together. But I thought that was just very relatable.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, I'm trying to be a man without any man background knowledge.
Yeah,
I'll tie it to the back.
And he says, I love you. And she says, what about my father? Well, I like him. I
got to get to know him better.
Yeah.
Well, this is great. Again, I'm so glad that you brought this to our attention, because this is one of these films. I was in the camp with probably everyone else where I saw this back in the 90s and then haven't thought about it since, probably because Austin Powers came out the year after, and that was just took over.
Yeah.
But this was just a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah. No, you're welcome. I mean, thank you for bringing it to my attention indirectly, because I wouldn't have gone looking for movies like this if you hadn't have given me that prompt. I actually, looking at when I looked through your previous episodes, a lot of them were ones that I had thought of, like on the way that, like Eraser and
so good.
Oh, damn, there was another one. But I was like, wait, did you ever do Phantom?
Ooh, not yet. I would love
Phantom,
to do the Phantom. I love that film.
Brought up the Phantom before.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure it's got a low score on both.
I think it qualifies. That movie's great.
Yeah. Where the guy gets, I just remember he gets a guy to look in a microscope, and then like he gets blades in his eye. Not that that's the best part of the movie. That's what I remember. I was like, ooh, what a badass way to go.
Maybe the best part of the movie too.
Yeah, I think it's when the thing that he's focusing on is like, go fuck yourself or something. Like, bam.
Well, that's how this started. Is we were him and I we both like movies, and The Net came up, the movie Sandra Bullock, and we were like, that movie's awesome, right? And then we looked online on Rotten Tomatoes, and we're like, what? Everyone hates this movie? It's below 50% in both, and we were just like, all right, there's got to be a bunch of other movies out there that we love. And at the time, there was no internet. We didn't know other people didn't think these movies were amazing too.
Yeah, it's a great hook for a podcast. I mean, it's also, I love that it's like positive too. I mean, if you did my idea and did the like shitting on movies that everybody loves, it would be fun for us, but people listening to it would probably get tired of all the complaining. But this is such a good idea for a show.
There's plenty of avenues for complaining, and hopefully ours isn't that.
Yeah. No, yeah, definitely not.
So yeah, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for joining. And so I know we have your people should look for you on your YouTube special. Do you have anything else you're working on?
So there's the special, but there's also the album. I mean, it's the same audio from the special, but if you buy it on iTunes, then I get money.
Yeah. So don't go on YouTube. Pretend you didn't say YouTube.
Do both.
Go on iTunes. Do both.
Yeah, do both. Or
multiple times.
Yeah. I mean, if it gets played on the radio, that's when I think I get the most money. So just if you hear it on the radio, just call your DJ and be like, this guy is the best. But what am I working on? I think, nope, I'm just, slowly working on the next album. So just like follow me on Instagram, I guess. And that's it.
Cool.
Yeah,
well,
just enjoy your life.
Yeah, big fans here. That's for sure.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I really appreciate it. Yeah, this was fun.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Thanks for.
If you get every other guest, if you interview every other comedian, then circle back to me because I'd love to.
We're going to take you up on that.
Absolutely.
Pretty soon, yeah. All right, thanks a lot. This was great, and later.
Cool. Yeah, later.
Yeah, thanks. See you guys later.